A huge mood to the herd, and welcome to episode 3 of our All the Mods 6 to the Sky playthrough. It's a bit of a mouthful to say. So in today's episode, we're going to carry on the work we did in the previous episode with our automatic crushing and sieving. I want to expand out what we're going to do. So we are doing more items. And hopefully get a nice, relatively tidy setup in place. So we've got all of the necessary raw materials so we can actually start exploring a load of the other mods. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so between episodes I've done a bit more work. First thing you might notice, we have a giant chorus plant here. If you're wondering how to get that, well, you need some endstone, and endstone is relatively easy to get. You just take some glowstone dust, which you can get from sieving dust, and just right click it on a barrel of lava, and that will give you some endstone. You then need to crush the endstone and sieve it, and if you're really lucky, you will get some chorus flowers. I actually managed to get 3. You then need a piece of endstone, plant it, and it will grow up. And the reason I wanted that is if I harvest this, I have some chorus fruit. And I want 4 pieces of chorus fruit, which I'm going to put into my emerald furnace. Now, this is one of the iron furnaces which has been upgraded several times to emerald furnace. And the great thing about these iron furnaces is you can actually input and output various items. So for instance, I have a chest on the top, which is my input. My right is my fuel input, which will take any coal, etc. And at the back is my output. And if you can have a look at the back, you'll see I have an awful lot of ingots, which I have been processing between episodes. So I've got 4 pieces of popped chorus, just put those in, and I now have 4 purple blocks, which is something we're going to need for later. A couple of other things I've done. I've made a sink, so we don't have our infinite water source. We've got the sink for cooking for blockheads. That's piping water into these 2 barrels. One of them is just a plain wooden barrel with water, and the other is a plain wooden barrel, but it's got witch water. And to get that, there's a block of mycelium underneath. And to get the mycelium, you need to sieve a load of dirt until you get some ancient spores. And then take the ancient spores, right click on dirt, and you'll get mycelium. And any water that you have on top, if I take a bucket, that will fill up with water, and then it will gradually over time turn into witch water. So that's quite a useful thing to have. Speaking of dirt, I have my little dirt processing facility here. Basically input anything that can be composted in this chest, gets put into the wooden barrel, and we get dirt out there, so we can then sieve it. The only other thing I've done here is I've outputted into a chest here. This is an obsidian chest. I thought it might have bigger things. It just turns out it makes it obsidian. So you don't really need to go higher than a diamond chest. The obsidian chest just doesn't really give you much more apart from makes it obsidian, and thus you need a diamond pickaxe to lift it. I've also made an auto compressor. Now the beauty of this thing is it will only accept things that can be compressed, and it will take however many of them and compress them. So if I look over in this chest, you can see I've got a load of chunks. I've got compressed flint, compressed diamond, niter, mana gem, a load of inferium, sulfur, prosperity ore, apatite. And all I've been doing is I've been taking all of my chunks and sticking them over on this chest over here, and just basically smelting up all the ingots. So, relatively straightforward setup, and it means I've got plenty of resources. The one thing I have had to do though is obviously sifting dust to get redstone and glowstone. That takes a bit of time. I haven't got many nether quartz stuff because I haven't really done much with this netherrack. And we don't have any ender pearls, etc. because, as you can see, I've only just harvested that chorus. So the goal for today is to get all our things set up, and hopefully we then have a system that will just generate resources for us, and we can then look at getting other mods explored. Now, to speed things up, I have, if you notice my inventory, crafted the bulk of things that we're going to need. That means we're not going to spend a lot of time looking at crafting grids. Instead, we should be able to start putting some stuff down. So I've crafted up some blue connectors from xnet. I chose blue because it's the easiest stuff to get. I've got loads of lapis and I can easily make blue dye. Some blue network cables, a controller, which was going to be the brains of the whole xnet setup. I've got 8 auto hammers, and hopefully I've got my math right, and this is the right amount. 5 auto sieves. I've got a pedestal and another pedestal upgrade. I've got 3 additional magmatic dynamos. Basically, I think I worked out we're going to need about 550 RF per tick. Now, 5 magmatic dynamos at 40 RF a tick is only going to give us 200. So we're going to need some upgrades. So I've got some hardened integral components. That doubles it. So each magmatic would give us 80 RF per tick, but we're going to need more than that. So I've made up all the components we need, he says, for the reinforced integral components. Now that will basically triple it. So from 40 to 120. So if I add that in there, so we now have 5 reinforced integral components. The other things I've done is I've increased the amount of crucibles we've got up to 5, and obviously we've got our existing magmatics. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop down my additional magmatics. See, the other ones worked perfectly fine. What if we could just do it on that? Nope. So I'll get my crescent hammer and spin these round. And the last one will be here. Except I'm standing in this block space. Okay. And the other thing we're going to do is we're just going to open up the augmentation slot and drop one of these reinforced components in each. And hopefully we'll have enough lava generation to power all of these up. I hope. If you're wondering the requirements for the reinforced, it's signalum and electrum. Signalum is relatively simple. It's 3 pieces of copper dust, 1 piece of silver dust, 2 pieces of redstone dust, and that gives you 4 signalum blend. And the electrum is 1 piece of silver, 1 piece of gold dust, and that gives you 2 electrum. So if we use the engineer's hammer to turn our chunks into dust, you can make it without having to use crushers or alloy furnaces or anything of the like. So we've got our 5 generators in place. Now I want to basically pop. The other thing I've done is I have F7 enabled, but you will see that there's no spots where you can't see things. And that's because down here I have made a couple of feral fair lanterns, which will light up the chunk up and down, so we don't have to have torches everywhere. It just makes things a little bit cleaner. Yeah, so I want to pop our resource setup around about here. So we're going to need cobble gens here. And I've just realised that's the one thing I forgot to make was cobble gens. So I've got 1 cobble gem. I'm going to need at least another couple. And the tier 1 cobble gens, they do the job. I mean, if you look, I'm backlogged on gravel here. So I don't think we're going to have too many issues there. So I'm going to need some buckets. I need to get rid of this rich water. Nope, can't do it that way. Let's just make up another bucket. I have plenty of iron. Yeah, so what we'll do is I will quickly pause here. We'll get a couple of cobble gens made up, and then we will quickly, well, not quickly, we'll get back to making what we set out to do. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my cobble gens now. So basically I'm going to need, do this right, cobble gen here, and then the third cobble gen, which is over here. We're going to need a pedestal and a pedestal. So let's just make a hole for these. Should really make an axe, but punching the ground seems to work. And the other thing we'll need, I'll take my pickaxe and we'll just go grab those nether bricks. And I have the purple bricks as well. Got my 2 pedestal upgrades. If they don't stack, that's fine. So nether bricks in there. Purple bricks in here. We'll drop our 2 pedestals down. One there, one there. And as I was mentioning yesterday, if you put in your right hand, then right click, that applies the upgrade. It seems to have caught out a lot of people, because prior to 1.6 and thus prior to pedestals being upgraded, you could just right click the upgrade straight on. But that seems to work, and we're generating nothing apparently. I don't believe that for 1 second. It's just obviously not showing up on my screens. Right, so the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this cobble gen here. And pop that in here. Right, so next, let's get our auto hammers. Now I'm going to want 1 auto hammer there. 2. 2. I'm going to probably need something to stand on. Oh, I've got some netherrack, that'll do. 3. So we'll go cobble to gravel in this one, gravel to sand in that one, sand to dust in that one, and the last thing we need at the top is an auto sieve. And we'll just give that a diamond mesh. And that's that one done. And again, we'll grab our auto hammers. So this will be cobble to gravel, and then gravel to sand. And again, an auto sieve here with a diamond mesh. And the last one will be, well, actually, we're going to grab those over there. Actually, I'm going to put them here. So this will just be simply gravel and a sieve to turn gravel into various items. And then we're going to need, I think I've made too many auto hammers. Oh, that's a blessing. Right, so this one will be netherrack into crushed netherrack. And this one will be endstone into crushed endstone. 2 sieves on top. Okay, and that's going to be our setup for producing the various materials. Okay, just going to put a slab in here so we don't fall down. So that's all very well, but I need to get, so I'm getting cobblestone into the base of all of these. I'm not getting anything into these ones because they don't output at the top. So we're going to need to find a way of getting all the various items up there, and that's where xnet comes in. So I'm going to add a connector in here, here, and here. I'm going to add a connector in there, there, and there. And then we're going to go, let's make sure I don't fall off. There and there, there and there, and there, 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 and one more. There. A great bad thing about xnet is in that one cable, I can do item, fluid, gas, and power. So that makes it nice and tidy for us. So the next thing to do, rather annoyingly, is I need to charge up my controller. So if I drop the controller down here, you can see it start getting power from this magmatic dynamo, which is exactly what I wanted. And we're outputting 120 RF per tick. So we'll let that charge up. And we'll then pop our controller down, and then we'll start looking at how we connect everything together, because we're also going to need to move this auto compressor. I'm just going to let this finish itself off. Yeah, we've got plenty of stuff still coming through. All right, so that should be, yeah, that's fully charged now. So let me just pop, I think around about here will be good. Gives me plenty of access to stuff. And what I want to do is just clear some space underneath, because the whole reason of having the second floor is so I can actually run cables underground rather than having them everywhere else. So I'm going to need a connector on the back of this, or underneath this actually will work. Yeah, let's go underneath. Pop. And we'll also need to make sure we've got a route up into the rest of our network. Again, trying to keep things relatively tidy. So if I take that one out, I think it's probably for the best. And then I use my blue network cables. Connect down there, down there. And pop this one. Yep. Hopefully this should all line up. So the problem when using slabs is it kind of looks like it's too low, but it's not. Right, so that's all connected up. And we've got some power in here. You can see we've got all of the blocks now. So the other thing we want to do is go grab some power cables. Hopefully this will work. If it doesn't, I have to rethink, but I think it will. So I'm going to add these additional ones in. I'm just going to break this here because we don't need this anymore. Take my pipe wrench. Just make sure all of these are outputting power. And then if we put a hole here, take a blue energy connector. Now I know pipes have had a problem in the past with connecting to various things, but I'm hopeful this will work. I've done some testing on things, but not on everything, so can't be 100% sure. Pop that in there. Then what we'll do is we'll just go bop. Right, so that should be all the things wired up underneath. So if I'm right, there should be a pipe which I can now set up xnet energy, create a channel. We're going to leave this on because we're just dealing with power. And on this, I want to create an extract. And the first thing I want to do is create an insert on there. So that's now taking power from the network and putting it into my thing. Well, it's meant to be. As you can see, it doesn't appear to be. But if no, it should be coming out and straight into this. So why is it not? Yeah, it definitely is draining, so it doesn't look like the extract is going to work. Which is a bit of a bummer, because it should be charging that. So we'll have to rethink how we do that. It's not the end of the world, but it's just a little inconvenient. So I'll pause here, because I need to figure out the power, and then once I've got that figured, we'll come right back. So I've changed it up. We're not using the pipes energy connectors anymore. I'm just using further blue connectors. And if you look here, I've set all of my magnetic dynamos to extract. And they're now inserted in there. And you can see that my controller is fully charged. And it also means that I can take all of these and just insert power in there. And if I just copy this connect to the clipboard and then paste, 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 what we can do is we can paste this setup into all of our auto sieves and hammers. And if we go and then look, you'll see that they're starting to work. They're all charging up. In fact, they've all charged up. So let's pop our meshes in. Okay, so crisis averted via the power of xnet. So we've now got power being distributed to all of these, and they're obviously going to start processing that gravel. So we're all good there. Next thing we need to do is to see if we can get some items moved. This is where things get a little bit messier. So xnet item. Actually, let's do our export first. So we want to export from each of the sieves. So that's our first sieve. So create extract, priority, create extract, create extract, create extract, and the last one, create extract. Okay, so that's that bit done. And the other thing I want to do is I want to grab this guy. This is going to make a horrible mess. You can always stick that all in this handy chest. And we'll take out auto compressor, and I'll pop that down here. Drop a connector on. And what we can then do is go to our controller and say, I want to insert, well, actually I want to do two things. I want to insert into a chest and insert into the compressor. So let me get those set up, and when I come back, we'll finish off the programming and we'll have our setup fully done. What I may also do is just set up the additional channels to extract from each of the various auto hammers and feed into the ones above. And then we'll do some filtering, and hopefully we'll have a setup all done. So I'll be right back. Okay, so hopefully we've got it this time. So each of these auto hammers on our, what I would call straight to one tier, so that one, and that one. So the first three, they're extracting on this channel. As you can see, they're just extracting random stuff. And they will insert into the auto sieve that corresponds above. And then to do that, I've added a filter. So added just like crushed stone, crushed netherrack, and gravel into there. The other ones, so this one here, which is, if you double click, highlights this one. This is our sand filter. So that has been set up to go into this one, and you've got a filter for sand. And the other one, which if I'm right, should be that one. Yep. That's got a filter for dust. Oh, yeah, for dust. And that can go into our auto sieve there. These are the intermediary ones. So this will insert extract from the auto hammer. But again, won't insert unless it's the right stuff. So hopefully this will work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to enable all the channels, and we'll see how we get on. The only one I'm not doing is the last one, which is the extraction of everything else. So it looks like stuff's going in, the exception of this one. So we need to figure out what's going wrong there. But everything else seems to be adding in okay. So we've got dust being filtered here. We've got gravel being filtered here. We've got crushed netherrack being filtered, and we've got inferium and so forth going through. And we've got crush endstone. You can see we've not actually got anything because of the percent chance. So the last bit I want to do is, if I come over here, I want a filter. Now I need some redstone, which we're out of, which is a bit of a bummer. So I'm going to have to wait for my dust to finish filtering. Hopefully we've got some redstone. I have some redstone. Perfect timing. So we'll just head over here. I'm going to make a filter for xnet. And what I want to do is, if I right click on that and add tags, I want, take that off, is the misc tags ore pieces. So if I double click on that, that's all of the different ore pieces that we've got. And what I can then do is, if I come over to my xnet controller and say, in this auto compressor, I'm going to add this into index 1 up the top. I want to insert, but just for index 1. So what should happen is we should extract from each of the auto sieves, and everything will either be, I'm going to increase the priority of this one, so the first place it goes is there. So everything should go into the auto compressor, and if it's, as long as it's a piece, as in one of these ore pieces, if I go over here, so platinum ore pieces, etc., should go into the auto compressor. Otherwise it goes into our obsidian chest. I think the last thing I want to do, which we'll set up later on, because I think we're running out of time, is to extract from the auto compressor. But if I enable this channel now, what we should start to see, we can see all the iron ore pieces, etc., going in here. The other thing I need to do is add some power to this, otherwise it's not going to do anything. And that's now going to start producing our chunks, and everything else is getting put into our obsidian chest. So there we've got a relatively passive setup. I need to output from that into the chest as well, but again, that's relatively easy to do. All I need to do is set up an item, switch that off, and I want to extract from here and insert into there. Enable the channel, and that'll start extracting. The one thing I'm going to do on that extract is, instead of single items, I'm going to put stacks in. And it's the same for all of these. I'm going to put them as stack. It will clear the things out a lot quicker. And we're not having to wait for one item at a time to go through. So that's all empty now. And we've got stuff going in here. And there you go. We have a relatively tidy, relatively compact setup. Oh, this has started to work now. Must have just been waiting for sand to come in. Yeah, relatively tidy, relatively compact setup using xnet. We've got plenty of power coming in. As you can see, we've got full lava in there. So yeah, I think the one thing that obviously needs to be tweaked is this chest is going to fill up really quickly. I also want to get some automatic smelting in. So we'll probably move our emerald furnace over and get that hooked into the network as well. But I think we're in a good place. So probably in the next episode, I'll look at maybe refined storage or something like that, just to get a decent size storage system in. And then the episode after that, we'll look at starting branching out into all the different mods. So I hope you enjoyed that. I have to say, getting this all programmed was a bit of a tedious thing, because you've got to figure out what flows into what else. But once it's done, it's pretty powerful. And the addition of these filters makes things very nice in terms of what we can and can't filter on. So hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, feel free to give it a like. If you'd like to see more, then please feel free to subscribe. Until then, I wish you a very pleasant day. Goodbye.